Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Reginal Drummer, the peopleologist, and welcome to another episode of We Are Ready, acronym WAR. And you know what we do over here? If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Many things are happening, many things have been facing us, and I know this is the anniversary, 21st anniversary of 9/11. The question is, where were you? How have things changed for you since then? But I encourage you to join us over and share and like our Square Mile Media Atlanta. Make sure you get the notifications. Make sure you share and subscribe over there. We've got a lot of good information. We've got a lot of things to share with people. Uh, and it's critical that we use this airwave and this time to help ourselves and help our families and help our communities. For everybody that was over there on Facebook Live, I hope you come over here and check it out right now. But tonight, uh, we've been focused on a lot of things. We always focus on things that can help us, help our community, and help our families, especially when it comes down to situations. There's a lot going on. You got the 21st anniversary of 9/11. Queen Elizabeth just passed. Inflation, all kind of things. And over here on this channel, we discuss a lot of that. So tonight I'll be joined by a couple of other uh, voices that you see quite often over on Square Mile Media. Miss Sylvia Hayes from Good News at Prime Time, and Mr. Nathaniel Dyer from Exposed. How y'all doing this evening?
Doing great. How
Yeah,
are
doing great.
you?
Doing great. How you doing?
Doing great, doing great. It's good. It's good, and you know it's good to see two Mississippians in here. you know,
Yeah.
that's powerful. I know there's a lot going on, and we said tonight. I know it's the anniversary, 25th, 21st anniversary of 9/11. A lot of different events and activities. I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves and reintroduce yourselves to your audience already. But for those that don't know, starting with you, Miss Sylvia, who are you and what do you do? I know you got some stuff for us.
Okay. Yep. I am Sylvia Hayes, co-host of Good News at Prime Time, which comes on Tuesday night. I'm also an author. My book is Good News not my Good News. I don't know why I always do that. My book is Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful in life. And you can get that book on Amazon or lulu.com. You can also go to my website, ankproductions.com, and get the book. So I am an author, an actress, storyteller. Well, I'm not a storyteller anymore, but a producer, and I also have a talk show called it's not a talk show, but a show called the Church Ladies Cooking Show, and we're doing very well. So you gotta look that up. Okay, that's about enough for me right now.
Power to the people, my sister. Brother Nate, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, and it's a great once again to be a part of the panel. Part of my background is artist, graphic designer. Also, I do a lot of advocacy for children in education. I have a youth organization called Kids First, and just hold people accountable as to what their decision making as relates to outcomes for children. And I say especially Black boys and girls.
All right, thank you, thank you. I know you're always out there in the community. Actually, you're still down in Mississippi right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm down visiting my mom. My brother and I came on down. Yeah, so we're visiting with my mom this weekend, and having a great time, enjoying the Mississippi vibe.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna throw a couple of things out there. I want to throw this out there too because I know tomorrow here in Atlanta, I had to put a shout out. Two critical pieces going on. Part of the Parent Safety Alliance, there's a referendum going for safety in the schools, and I was going to send it to you, Nate, brother, but you're down in Mississippi, but you might be able to send it out to some people. We're going to send it out here, but they got a meeting at City Hall about 12:30, City Hall, Atlanta. And then they also have one at the DeKalb Board of Education at 4:30 p.m. and the Tucker City Hall at 6:30. Now this is part, and I think it's over on our We Already Paid, the Parent Safety Alliance, Mr. Kyle Roller, but they're sharing some things for as trying to get certain things implemented in school when it comes down to safety, because it's not if and when we might have a school shooting, it's just if and when.
Right.
Also, voting, I think October the 8th is the last day to register to vote. And, it's going to really get turned up over the next couple of weeks for the governor's race, the Senate race, and a couple other positions there. So we definitely want people to be proactive in making sure they register, making sure they know where to go. And you can go to the SOS, the Secretary of State website, to make sure you registered and know where you need to go before showtime, which is November the 8th, I believe. But there's a lot of things facing us. Even the Falcons. I just saw the Falcons take one for the team. They weren't able to pull it out. But there's a lot of things hitting us. Trump indictments. The Queen just passed away, and that was the only Queen that we knew for. Man, she was there 70 years. They say since 1952. She outlived about 9 presidents. The Queen of England. She's more of a figurehead, and she does come with a little controversy. So I know we're gonna drop a little that on because my mom used to call her the old lady. How does the old lady look? When the old lady had a particular look, she knew she was had her mind on something, and she was that type person. But and then we also lost a brother in the media, Bernard Shaw from CNN,
right,
back in the day. But we're just gonna go in there a little bit. Maybe I'll start with 9/11. Where were you guys when September 11th, 21 years ago?
I was in Decatur. And I was at the courthouse. Well, it wasn't a courthouse, but I remember I was going to a district attorney's office. Yeah, I went to see him about getting some papers, and that man lit into me, made me feel like I was in the wrong. I was like, dog, and he really upset me. But years later, I figured out he probably was upset because of 9/11. Because on my way back, I stopped at a car place to get my tire fixed, and that's where I saw it. It was on the television right there at the car place, where the place was being bombed and everything was just like haywire. That's where I was early that morning, getting my tire fixed.
Well, I was at home, and I was on my computer, and the TV was on, and I just saw planes crashing into a building, and I'm like, this is not a movie. A movie wasn't on, and it was just like maybe the news had come on. So I was like, just thought that was really interesting, and found out that 2 planes had gone into the World Trade Center, and I felt like that's odd, because for a train, just my opinion, or what I believe, if a plane veers off course just a little bit, the alerts go off. So how this plane was able to divert for that period of time and then crash into a building was just I just said there's something weird about that, and then the way that it crumbled. But I was at home, to answer the question, I was at home, but that was the reaction that I had when I saw that. It was just unbelievable.
Did you have anybody in New York did you know of?
No, no.
Did you, Reggie?
Not at that particular time, but later, I think I remember interviewing someone that didn't go to work that day, and they actually survived by not going to work. When 9/11 happened, matter of fact, I didn't see the first plane, and I was out on a job site, and I was coming back through this gated community, it's a security desk, and everybody was around the thing. I was like, man, what they doing? So I got out of my truck and went in there. And just when I went in there, that's when the second plane hit the building. Now, I thought it was like Independence Day. You know, I was like, man, this is a movie. They said, no, man, 2 planes already, we under attack. I was like, what? You know, now, that was the first day. Probably a little bit later, you know, after seeing it and looking at what was going on, I think that was the first time Americans started to doubt America in a massive number, because I started getting people saying, man, that can't be real. Or we found out how vulnerable America was, especially as it started, you know, over the last 21 years, it's really started to open up some doors. I think the first person to speak out on it was Cynthia McKinney. We saw the backlash that she got for saying something. Okay. And then fast forward, we started hearing a whole lot more about, you know, when I saw the president, and at that time, that was who I called Baby Bush. And he was like, looked like he was lost. And, you know, for the first time, I felt like America didn't have their stuff together. Because, you know, I was trying to say, man, how did this happen? And then when I heard about the one at the Pentagon, all this type stuff, then I heard that I actually trained 1 or 2 of the pilots right here in Georgia. And so a lot of things started. And then, you know, we started to see a whole lot, because after 9/11, they changed everything. You couldn't go to the airport like you used to go. Homeland Security was invented. And I think that was the one of the first indications of dividing America and taking away some of our civil liberties.
Yeah. I had, my best friend was living in New York at the time, and I was like worried to death. And when I finally got a hold to him, he was worried because a friend of his worked down there and they couldn't find him. So I never did find out whether he found the person or not. And then I had a cousin that lived in the Pentagon, and she said the plane hit the building and they didn't even tell him about it. You know, she was in the building and she didn't even know. You know, I don't know how exactly she found out, but it hit the building. I guess it's so big, you know.
It's a big place.
Huh?
It's huge.
Yeah, and they didn't even tell her about it, and she was upset about it, you know. So,
well, I recall during that period of time, say like patriotism was at a low point. Bush was a lame duck president. Medicare was on the table. And in my opinion, just felt like it was vulnerable for infiltration. So what's the rallying cry? War, right? Against the common enemy. The country's under attack. So that's what I equated it to, because the country was definitely divided. There was a lack of confidence in the administration that was there. And so when it didn't surprise me too much that it happened like that, but to make people believe that these planes, because you look what were the options? Okay, one, we did see that they shot one down supposedly, right? And the other 2, you know, wound up hitting the buildings. But then the amount of time, you know, how quickly that fuel that they claimed, you know, a lot was burning the building, where it just came down like that. And, you know, we did find out that, hey, there weren't as many people in the building at that time. A lot of people called out for whatever reason. So it could have been even more deadlier. So there were just some things that just make you feel skeptical about it. But in the end, what you saw was the great icon of the American symbol on all TV channels, right in the bottom corner, you know, speaking to patriotism, and we will not forget. And then within 24 hours, what did they post? A person, well, we can call it a person of color. Who was it? Saddam, was it Saddam, or I'm trying to remember, or someone?
Bin Laden.
Yeah, Bin Laden. Yeah, Bin Laden.
Yeah.
Posted him as basically the man who was responsible. And that, I'm just like, okay, if you knew that this person had this level of capability, should they have been neutralized before, but all of a sudden? And in this country, a lot of times you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. But all of that was thrown out of the window in this whole scenario. So maybe there's a different set of rules in that. But those were just some of the things that went through my mind at that time.
And you know, in later years, there's a lot of different. There's Michael. What's the guy? I almost said Michael Myers. Michael Moore made a documentary about 9/11, and there's several others out there. But that added to the flames of conspiracy. Like I said, for me, that was one of the first times, you know, collectively, because you know when something happens in America, when Pearl Harbor got attacked, people were like, "Man, Pearl Harbor got attacked. We're ready to go."
Yeah.
You know, but in this instance, or even, you know, it divided people because people was a little bit more apprehensive, you know, especially how many things were handled. You know, our freedoms got taken away from us, homeland security sped up. A lot of things, people, you know, a lot of Muslims, a lot of my Muslim brothers and sisters were being checked, held up, detained, all kind of things.
Right.
And
attacked,
you know, attacked. And you know, for almost a season, they almost forgot. I think they almost forgot about attacking black people because we didn't get it. You know, wasn't a whole lot of black shootings. You know, the police kind of toned it down a little bit. You know, they took that effort on somebody else. But you know, they did seem kind of fishy. Now, over the first maybe 2 years, I was a little bit under the sheet, believing and seeing what I thought was what I saw. But after the 5th year, for me, a lot of things started to change once I saw a lot of the, you know, people said, you know, my prayers go out to everybody that died. I lost a loved one. 300 firemen died, over 3,000 people in that one building. Could have been more, but a lot of conspiracies started to happen, and it put everybody in somewhat of a doubt about that particular incident because there's a lot of cover up. You know, some of the things that I heard was they were getting rid of asbestos. They had to get rid of these insurance companies had put a lot of money on those 2 buildings, and they needed to be torn down, and that was the easiest way to do it. So it was a lot of different things. But what's one of the wildest conspiracy theories you heard about? Well, maybe not wild, but just where you said, man, is that possible?
Well, that it was an inside job that the United States did it themselves. You know, I mean, it's nothing for them to sacrifice. We'll go to different wars, but you know, I'll tell you two things that really the incident propelled 2 individuals. Okay, it saved Bush's presidency, in my opinion.
Oh.
You know, made him relevant. But then Rudy Giuliani rose to the ranks.
Sure did.
Yeah, it made him the poster child of New York, or you know, for being under attack. And now we see where he's winding up. You know, in my opinion, he wasn't that great of a person or mayor anyway. But again, you know, that helped him. And
they credit him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To the fullest.
Yeah. And I just heard that they knew, they've been warned that this was going to happen and nobody did anything. So that's what I heard, you know, a long time ago. They knew about it. They just didn't do anything. I guess they didn't believe it or something. I don't know. But I think Cynthia was one of those that was warning them about stuff. You know what kind of backlash she got. They did everything to get her out of office and to shut her mouth.
Oh, yeah. Well, she was one of the first ones to not necessarily say it was a set up or a conspiracy. She was one of the first ones to one was part of the anti-Muslim thing, and a lot of other was dealing with the how they started to infiltrate the rights of people. I mean, when 9/11 happened, there's a lot of stuff you can't do today that you could do prior to 9/11. A lot of people's passports were revoked. When 9/11, a lot of people, had passports. They would go on cruises, different things, leave the country. But when 9/11 happened, a lot of people had more difficulty renewing their passports. That was one of the things. So that's a subtle way of putting you in a position where you couldn't leave the country. There's also wiretapping, because in order to find the people that they found, they had to start turning up surveillance on Americans. Okay, now during that time period, there was a lot of groups identified as hate groups. Other than the Klan, we had America's own hate groups, but they started to really turn it up. And when they turn it up, usually the people that get affected more are Black and brown people. So those were two things.
Yeah, we have a 9/11 on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
9/11, 9/12, go to what, 31 days.
It don't take that much for America to turn the spotlight on Black and brown people. It's as though we've been a problem for a while. But my prayers and everything go out to people that lost anyone, people, firefighters. I just saw a documentary on 60 Minutes talking about how many people died. A lot of firemen went in there, and a lot of people died later because of all the soot, the ash, right, and things of that nature. They showed films and movies of people just covered with ash, and that lasted for a while. But it did rally America up. One of the hard questions I might ask you guys: do you see something like that happening again? And what could it be?
Well, yeah, before we leave, do that point, Jon Stewart tried to get I think it was Congress to pass a measure where I think it was the firefighters who suffered from that event would get some type of medical, let's see, but have you all heard about that, Jon Stewart, and they denied it?
Well, I knew somebody was trying to get medical help for those people. I don't know who. Yeah,
it was Jon Stewart, who used to be on the Daily Show. And
you're right, okay.
Yeah. And Congress denied it.
Well, you know what? That's part of the hypocrisy of the whole deal. At one time they did the whole Patriot thing, but after people try to get compensated for their injuries, and these long-term injuries, people had respiratory injuries, the lungs, because there were a lot of people who didn't have respirators or oxygen machines. A lot of firemen had to go back in the building without proper equipment. And like you said, Nate, Congress made sure that they did not get compensated. A lot of people did not get paid. They ended up dying. And when you said that brought that to mind to me, because a lot of firemen, policemen, and their spouses were not compensated properly by the American government.
Yep, you're right. A lot of people died later on, because of that injury. And a lot of people, even the offspring, some of the offspring suffered from it.
Oh yeah. Birth defects. And we're still. This is the first 20 years. There's no telling what's going to happen 20 years from now, as that population of people enter and intermingle with the rest of the population. So that was a big deal. But I think some people say, well, COVID might have been the next thing, but with a country like it is now, it's got inflation. The country look like it's divided. You got a lot of politicians on walking on pins and needles, afraid that they're gonna lose their job in November. Uh, you know, do you guys foresee another scenario, situation like 9/11 to that magnitude, or would that help?
What I say, on the ground of education, it's going to pretty much set us up for a redo of slavery. When we came out of when Black people were emancipated during that period of time, one of the main requests was education, along with our freedoms, land, and to be left alone to live and enjoy the freedoms that exist in this country. But in today's times, the education, young Black boys and girls, as relates to the schools that they're in and the rankings, they're in the bottom tier. And it doesn't seem like there's any type of effort to change that narrative. Give you a prime example. In Atlanta public schools, you have a superintendent who closed the school on children who were ranked 1441 in the state out of 1444. Okay. But then moving to another school who was ranked in the same or lower. And they're contracted through a group, I just name them purpose-built communities. Okay. So you have that situation. Sorry, my brother's in the room. If y'all heard it. So, but then they want to spend around $2 million for security for children, but they're not even starting on the base level of getting them educated. So you take that, you got inflation, you got displacement, you have, like I said, we have a 9/11 conundrum. We just in a ball of fire. And then of course, the justice system, the brutality on Blacks, kind of all over the place. But I say one more thing. There were some officers shot here in Atlanta. Did you all hear about that? The two?
In Cobb County.
Yeah, Cobb County.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Now, what's interesting in that whole thing, and my condolences go out to all, the parties involved, but we got to look at this thing where the sheriff said they gave the verbal command, put the weapon down. But we know with us, if the weapon is, we don't even have to have a weapon and we don't get any type of commands. So we got to look at it, white and white, not going to shoot each other, pretty much. They're going to give them an opportunity. And then you see, they escorted them. They're in jail now.
Right.
Where Black, you wouldn't have had the verbal command. He looked like he was reaching. So you shoot. You don't say anything. So we have to encapsulate all of these elements and components and put it together. Our young people not being educated, not being prepared for the future on a lot of levels. Our senior citizens are being displaced and being attacked. We got the homeless issue. So really, to your question, Reggie, do we foresee anything? I think we're in it now. I think we're living it.
Okay.
I think we're living it. We're experiencing it, but I don't think we believe it. Sometimes you get to a point where, the reality hasn't set in that we are in a crisis as a people. You look at the political, okay, we have this election coming up that you mentioned. There are plenty of elections. We got a Stacey Abrams in this state going against, not in this state where I am now, but in Georgia, a Stacey Abrams versus Brian Kemp. What is going to be the difference? We see that everything we're talking about pretty much has been Democratic rule. Now, we know Republicans are pretty much a bunch of buffoons, with their way of thinking. But isn't there supposed to be a clear difference between the Democrats and Republicans? But yet we're not getting anything. So that's just I just feel like we're in a rolling ball of fire in crisis. And we have to wake up to that reality.
Well, since we did get into politics, it's like the same coin, uh, and it's two heads. No matter how you flip a quarter, heads or tail, you
Yeah.
can get a click a quarter. It's still a quarter, and our politicians have become like that quarter. We can't tell the difference. I know we did a show not too long ago. We were talking about Republicans, Democrats. What's the difference? And really, they mirror each other. It's just a matter of talking points. Sometimes they say, well, if you a liberal or a moderate or independent conservative, you religious, you're spiritual, you patriotic, all these things, these adjectives that describe people, but they intermingle. They the same stuff,
Yeah.
So sometimes it could be a challenge for us to find somebody to represent us on certain things. I'm an independent, call myself an independent. And I know a lot of times we look at cities where the people look just like us. They black people, black mayors, uh, black Congress people and city council people, but look, even board of education, but look like in those districts, they're not getting the things done that our people really need. I've seen where people live in an area and they let that area be blighted, meaning that they don't bring any growth to the area, whether it be schools, uh, jobs, or any type of prosperity. In particular down in South Georgia, I was down, and they're those black and brown populations 60-70%, and yet the leadership is 60-70% black and brown, but it looked like a desert down there. There was no grocery stores, no jobs. The houses are dilapidated. All the services look just jacked up. But I guess my position with a politician is always either to rent them, lease them, buy them, or own them. And until we get that mindset, it's going to be very difficult for us to take some stuff, in consideration. Oh, I see that Stacey is elected, other than the symbolism of the first black woman, that real change can we expect? And that was a good comment. Other than the symbolism that she's a woman, what else can we expect? And that's a hard question for us to deal with. What's that?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Well, I expect her to be softer than Kemp, and softer as for towards humanity, but tougher on rules and regulations as far as gun control. I expect her to be tougher and not just let everybody have a gun. I do not expect that like Kemp is doing, because Kemp is letting everybody get killed and killing, not letting people have, the abortion thing. Let's do it like that. So I think Stacey would favor the women more. Think about their livelihood, their health, and everything, versus Kemp just want to do whatever the Republicans want done. That's the way I think it will be. I think she would be better. For me, as a woman, I think she would represent better. Because I think about the welfare of people that he's putting all these guns in their hands, and so many people are getting shot up. And I think she want to take some of those guns away, at least place more restrictions, put more restrictions on how you can get a gun, rather than just open the door everybody get one.
Yeah, but she ain't gonna take the guns away.
Well, not take them away, but more restriction. You got to go through the protocol to get one, not just take them away. But those assault rifles need to be taken away. I mean, because even if you kill a rabbit with one of those things, I think is going to mess it up.
Well, I tell you like this: you talking about World War, the second, third, the fifth Civil War in this country? You try to take guns away. They may be able to, not sell them, which that's not going to happen. But people who have guns are going to keep their guns. As far as Stacey Abrams having a tough stance on it, I think it'll be a whole lot of talk. And I give you a prime example. Remember when the All-Star game, baseball game, was supposed to come to Atlanta?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And the issue at that time, I think, was the election about the lines. I think districting or the parameters they put on voting that a lot of people felt like were oppressive to Black people. So she came out on that, and the All-Star game, I think, whatever, they passed it here in this state. Like you couldn't pass out war, certain things like that. And when the All-Star game was pulled, which in my opinion, that's success. That's what you want, to make a stance. If people aren't being treated here, especially Black people, you want something like that. She comes out and says, well, I didn't mean for them to take the game.
Yeah, but
you get what I'm saying?
You're going to fight for one thing, you might get something else, but it did make people stand up and listen, pay attention. Because I think, because if I'm not mistaken, they pulled it because you couldn't control who can come in the stadium with guns. If I'm not mistaken, that's what was going on.
Nah, it was about the vote. Okay, after the election, of course, Trump and all, they had a whole lot of issues around voting. So the government officials in the state house or whatever had the notion to put certain restrictions on voting because I guess Georgia had supposedly turned blue. Okay, so they were going to try to put some measures in to try to get it back to the red component. So there was a faction that felt like, hey, that's voter suppression. So when they passed it, the Major League Baseball had threatened to pull the game. But you know how Kemp is, we're going to move forward anyway. And Stacey Abrams was supposedly on the other side saying, okay, we need to boycott I'm not going to say. I just say she was on the side of let's revisit these changes in voting. So they yanked the All-Star game, which they blamed her for. You get what I'm saying? And she comes up saying, I didn't mean for that to happen. So what chance in hell does she have of winning the governorship in Georgia when she's blamed for the All-Star game? So I say that, I'll follow up with this. The reason I say that is because step aside, let another viable candidate take that role because she's pretty much done. If you need a large majority, and we know in this state there's a huge following behind the Braves, especially when they won. And see, the other slap in the face is they won a World Series, right? So that's double impact on her.
Well, and this is a good comment. See, one of the things we have to understand is a Republican majority legislator that can overturn her votes. One of the things we have to look at, even in the governorship, the governor doesn't make laws. Okay, it's all those state and House representatives that come up with the laws, and the governor signs them off. Okay. Now, when you look at across Georgia, now you might look at Atlanta and you say, well, we got Chocolate City. We got a couple of state representatives and, 2 senators. You got, we didn't say in Georgia, you got senators and state representatives.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of those state representatives voting for things that are pertinent to their citizens, like the lady out there in Cobb County. I mean, what's that? Pass Cobb County, Spalding County. That she's a state senator. Okay. Yeah. I mean, she's in the House of Representatives, but there's the state senator that meet here in Georgia. Georgia's got 159 counties, and each one of those counties sends representatives. Okay.
Yeah.
Now those representatives are the ones that come up with things that are good for the state. You're supposed to be good for the state. Case in point, it could be dealing with abortion. the governor put something out there and said he's going to have one of the hardest states when it comes down to abortion. Well, those folk going to vote on it. Okay. Even if he submitted to them, they got to approve a bill, some type of House resolution to put it in force. So again, the onus and responsibility comes upon people to look at your local representatives. I mean, outside of your mayor, outside of your city council person, your state, your county representative, the person that's representing your county. That person is a person that's voting on something. Like when you look at the gun rights and things of that nature, those folk would never go against anything dealing with guns. Most of them.
Yeah,
so
true.
It's not.
Go ahead.
Pardon? Oh, so whoever you put in there, you're dealing with that legislative branch that's already there to override anything that comes from the executive branch. Going back again, how does these things help us? Even when you look at our sister Kamala Harris, and I know she's not up for election, but a lot of back. But back in the day, as Black people, we were so happy to see Black faces. Now we're happy to see. Yeah, once upon a time, we said, man, we get a Black face and we're gonna be good. Everything's gonna be all right. But because of built-in procedures, mostly white supremacy processes that are already built in, they just come in. It's just like they say with a football team. You know how they say Alabama can reload. Saban can put anybody in there at quarterback, running back, and they'll go back and be in contention for a national championship. Well, a lot of times in these political systems, that's what happens. People that get put in or elected are, I hate to say tokens, but in a way they are.
But I have to say something now. Okay, let's go to Mississippi. With the water situation. Now, the state has been given money for infrastructure. The governor is in charge. Okay. Don't you think they sent all that money back, at one time. And now when they got more money, and instead of them helping the people in Jackson with that water, and that problem been there for more than 30 years. Infrastructure. And instead of them helping the people in Jackson, fixing those roads, not the roads, but the pipes, they go outside. So, Jackson is what, 80% Black?
Yeah,
yeah. So all the people, the white people, are moving outside of Jackson. Yeah. So instead of them taking the money to work in Jackson to fix the water, they send that money outside of Jackson. And it's the governor who's doing that. Well, it's not the legislative people who's doing that.
Yeah. Well, you got to look at it. What happens? Just say, and that's just like Atlanta. Anyway, we have a majority of Black people. When you have one mayor, you got one mayor. You got maybe two representatives for that county. Whatever county Jackson, Mississippi is in, you got a representative. You got to look at the rest of Mississippi. You think they siding with that brother that's down there to help make sure stuff gets in, even though that's the capital of Mississippi? They willing for it, just like here in Georgia, they willing for it to go bottoms up. And they'll move out into the outlying areas of Mississippi, kind of like what we call white flight, take the economic base and pull it out of there. Yeah, and that's what happens. Yeah, that's what happens to a lot of the cities, that you got Black mayors, you got Black faces. They got to deal with all that. Even though I'm hard on my hometown, it's the same thing. The south side of my hometown, Albany, Georgia, it's like 99% Black, and it's jacked up. Now,
how many representatives? How many representatives is it for the Black people? How many Black representatives are there?
Well, you probably got 2, and you probably got 12 whites. So you see what happens. They're already outgunned.
Yeah. all those white people representing majority black people.
Well, no. They moved out and they just left the representation, which is black faces, but they don't have the power to either move, or now they might go along with some of the white representatives, but when it comes down to their particular area, getting some favor, getting some love, they're not showing them no love.
Well, what about we look at the scenario where some of these things are designed? Okay, nobody can predict a flood or a catastrophe, but if it's in the plan to take the rug out of a certain area, just like, okay, remember how downtown Atlanta was, how those big buildings they were just vacant. All of a sudden the Olympics come, they want to build it up, but yet they allowed the property values to fall, which pretty much at that time, Atlanta was really definitely a chocolate city. You look at Jackson, just like Sylvia said, a lot of whites have moved out and now it's just really black in that area, like Jackson State is there. So if they want that area to fall into impoverished environment, but they say we're going to try to do this over 10, 15 years. But then this flood comes and like, hallelujah, we can destroy them even faster. So, so we have to, I just believe we have to look at, there's a plan in place. Let's look at the Stacey Abrams component. Could it be that they just using her to keep Brian Kemp in there?
In what way?
Because she's not going to win.
Well, I'm hoping she does. I'm hoping she does, because the last she would have won if Brian hadn't done all that scheming stuff while he was Secretary of State.
But see, she could have.
Well, he's the governor now.
You say what?
I say he the governor now.
Yeah,
the governor's higher than the Secretary of
State. With all of those irregularities and everything, and why not contest it and continue to fight if you want it? So if you didn't fight then, with all the problems that were going on, all the elements of fraud that were involved, but you're gonna create this vote safe, whatever it's called, and now you're gonna run again. So if it happens again, what you gonna do? Create another organization?
Well, look, she got Trump as a role model who taught them how to do everything. Voters fraud. Trump taught them how to protest and ask for recounts and all this other stuff.
You see, Trump, I give him credit. You see, as opposed to her, he fought, good, bad, or otherwise, for that position. Here she is, gonna stand down and then run again. So, what are you looking for? And they do it again.
Look, she's a modest, honest person.
A what?
Okay. Well, a modest, honest person.
Who's honest?
Stacey.
Well, see, she's not ready then. It's one thing about being honest, but then having the backbone to fight. I mean, she came very close and possibly won. But she's far, I'm just saying she's farther from the victory line. And that's just the reality. Because again, that all-star game. Go ahead.
I see it this time now. When she first ran, she brought a lot of power. She ran a massive campaign.
She did.
She was like Obama in Georgia. But this time, she doesn't bring that fire. She did well registering people, but to get people fired up, like you said, Nate, it's hard to get behind somebody when you say, well, Drummer didn't even fight, to finish this thing up. I can't get fired up to work with him no more. So that's one of the
because I'm getting phone calls all the time, and I've even made phone calls, So they're out there. It's probably just don't hear a lot of it in the media.
Well, I'll say this, but she's a vote, and I'm gonna throw Warnock in there. Also, he's doing a good job of being ghosts. But Warnock has all these commercials where he's grinning and smiling, and we got homeless issues. We got this. He want to get out of the Back to the Future, the DeLorean with a damn vest on, looking like a clown.
Oh,
like, fool, People are in dire need. You have a church, Ebenezer. I'm sure a lot of your parishioners are going through something. So, I'm like, wake up. This guy was supposed to come in, take John Lewis's place. And of course, I have to say his track record wasn't that great in the community either.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really have a strong blueprint. But dog, dude, you're a preacher too. Don't you hear the voices of your parishioners? What's going on? And you're in the heart of Atlanta where all of these people being displaced. So, that's just a reality check that, I have to deal with when it comes to people of color. It's like they came from the moon.
But look at it like this. You got two people of color who's running. I'd rather have Warnock than Herschel Walker.
Okay. Hey,
I really would.
I'm not gonna let you get away with that.
You say what?
Walker did a lot of running for Georgia. They say continue to run, but you know what? I would love. I just saw a picture of Herschel Walker and Clarence Thomas together. Herschel Walker, Clarence Thomas, and Clarence Thomas, Raphael Warnock are virtually from the same area. They within, they lived at different times. They're about 70 miles apart, so they've encountered some of the same things, and you wonder why two of them got one way of thinking and the other one got another way of thinking.
I say they both had the same way, Reg. I say they using him just like they use Stacey Abrams to keep Kemp in there. They're gonna use him because they're getting what they want from Warnock. Let's just be real. He did say he had no backbone to stop anything.
Yeah, he did say he was number 18 on the bipartisan type dealing, meaning that he crossed the aisle more than anybody else.
Yeah,
but I want to throw this out. I know we talk a little bit about politics and 9/11. I want to ask y'all of this. How y'all feel about the Queen? She just passed away. The Queen has outlived a bunch of presidents: Eisenhower, Kennedy, Nixon, Johnson, Ford, Reagan, and we look at why is America so fascinated with the Queen?
I don't know why, but after she died, I'm finding out stuff. Don't ask me what, because I don't remember, but there was a lot of controversial stuff coming out about that Queen. Yeah. It's like, whoa, I didn't know that. And a lot of people didn't like her, and I didn't know that either because of the things she did to different countries and stuff. So,
especially African countries.
A colonizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a colonizer. And there are different countries. When you look at when they said the Great Britain would have so much that the sun wouldn't be able to shine over all this stuff, all this land, all this, his properties, all his places. She, and this attorney on the guard, she is the one of the last of a dying breed almost. That whole system of kings and queens. Oh, here's a question. Let's not forget the history of the Democratic Party. Georgia had string of Democratic governors until 2003 when Sonny Perdue was elected. Remember, Lester Maddox was a Democrat. True. That's why I say the parties, they can flip at any time. That's a good point. Lester Maddox, he was what they call a Dixiecrat. Yeah. Prior to him, I think they had Sanders. One of the most racist guys on the planet. He made Lester Maddox look like a water boy. But these parties are so close. It's like the same coin with two heads. It's still a quarter. So we got to do our due diligence. And there's a lot of things that's already built into the fabric of America, even going back to the Queen, England, all this stuff. We've seen that there's we kind of pigeonhole into liking what they like and doing what they want us to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just say this on the Queen. I was having a conversation about the importance of the queen and that monarchy, that whole setup, they sent people out like they're colonizers, right? So United States was colonized by them. They still have a grip. So and I'm gonna just go out there on the limb. So wouldn't it be interesting to find that the United States is paying, out of its coffers to keep the Queen's lights and the renovations and all that going on, because this is its golden child. And let's go to the Civil War. Okay. First, there was once thought that the war was fought over cotton, right? Well, let's say black people, freeing black people, which we know that wasn't true. Right. Then you can say maybe it was over cotton, but let's look at it this way. Maybe it was because the South said we do not want to be ruled by the queen or king. Ooh. They said we're making our own money, and we be damned if we give them. And they were the fifth richest aristocracy in the world at that time. The South was over the proper North. So they had to use the North to fight the South to rein them in. You see? So that the queen, that they wouldn't lose their colonization of this country, because the South threatened it. So look what they did in history. Who are they throwing there? It was the free black people. But then you can put us in the worst situation in sharecropping. England got what they wanted. The Queen got when because they supported the North, right, in this war. They may not have sent troops over, but just wanted to throw that out there as we talk about the Queen and the importance. And this is a colonized situation. And same rule, black people are on the low part of the totem pole. And if we go back to the Queen's history, and she's 96, and before that time, that's a process. So let's break it down even further when we talk about the Dixiecrats and Republicans. Look at the North and South. They were supposed to be different, right? And we saw how that went wrong. So now they're not that far separated. It's just a game to show that there's a democracy. But really, it's rule, and that's the monarchy.
Whoa, that's a good point, Nate. And one thing, because we look at all these things that's going on, and one of the things we always try to look at is how does it affect us? And I think whether it's politics, whether it's a war in Ukraine, we have to figure some way where we can survive. We see that the people that we trust the most, politicians, preachers, and teachers, we're not operating always in our best interest.
Yeah.
So we have to look at ways that we can survive. We don't know who to believe. America right now, anybody's truth can be the truth. They can change it overnight. There's monkeypox. Everybody better wear a mask. They can take a city and let the bottom fall out. Just cut the water off for about 2 or 3 months, like flood it, like New Orleans, something like that. Let it go down for about a year and come back and buy up the property, like Detroit. All these places, let the bottom just fall out of these places. But the big thing is, there is hope. And I know both of you all see some hope. So what are you more optimistic about going forward? I mean, I know we got a lot going on. The gas is up. Milk is costing $5 a gallon. Gas prices are up. Rent is going up. People being evicted. All kind of things. But what if it's something that can keep you optimistic, that makes you want to get up in the morning and say, you know what, I got a fighting chance?
That's Sylvia.
I can't think of anything, because I never, at my point in life, my stage in life, I'm focusing on me. So
your book,
your
book. I mean, that's something you want to wake up for and hope to be able to do. There's got to be some hope.
Yeah, well, yeah, my book is hope. And right now I'm trying to give the Mississippians some hope. The Mississippians in Jackson, give them some hope. I'm trying to do the water faucets, filters. Yeah. So we're doing that right now. That's hope because they don't have water. They haven't had good water in a long time. It's not just started. It's been a long time that they have to have bad water, boil the water, and all that kind of stuff. So it got to get better. So right now we want to give them the water filters, so they can have clean water. So for me, that's hope right there. And by the way, anybody want to donate a water filter? Go to lifebeyondwater.org. Lifebeyondwater.org. And you can order a water filter and it'll be sent to Jackson, Mississippi. Yeah.
Oh,
So we want to
okay.
have, because it's only $35. And if you want to just donate and not contribute a whole $35, just inbox me and we'll put some money together and get some more filters. Because they need it. Because they need help. They need help.
Nate, and then we finish up. What I see a question. What is Biden doing for Mississippi? I hadn't heard Uncle Joe say anything about Mississippi. I hadn't. But what are you optimistic about there, Nate, for this future?
Okay. Well, I'll address that question. What is Biden doing for Jackson, Mississippi? I say, look what he did for Ukraine. May I say more? A place that's not even within your country, but you're sending billions in supplies. And for that question to come up and it's not blasted on the news from the White House. And that goes to what we're talking about as it relates, the question, the hope. The hope is that they continue to do this foolish kind of stuff, because history has shown us that, and it's rich with us, that we always overcome, things fall in place, and the ship is righted for us, but we have to be ready to put the work in. I think this conversation is great to bring awareness, people asking questions, but it got to be active and ready like this. And preparation is, I say, practice. That means working with your children, work with your neighbor's children, helping a senior, communicating. Let's be more open about, we're pretty open about the problems, but let's get together about the solutions. And when we begin to talk to each other and put all this ignorance down, like materialism, want to be so hard or so not caring about the next person, well then we get what we get this. We get no help because our credibility is in the whole. Okay, so the hope aspect is always with the children and the future. While we may be going through things now, if we put things in its proper place and put our children first, our young people, whether you have children or not, things come full circle to us.
Oh, thank you. And then I see another comment. Thank you there, Letitia. Living a life of service gives me hope. So many are in need, even if it's educating someone that helps them with challenges in their life. That's a good one. Thank you there, Letitia.
Yeah,
for everybody that joined us this evening. Thank you, Nate, Miss Sylvia, and our audience out there. I encourage everyone to like, share, and subscribe over to Square Mile Media Atlanta, and get those notifications. Ring that bell so you can get notified when all these shows come on. For everybody out there, hope that you have hope. There's a lot of doom and gloom going around. There's a lot. We talked a little bit about a lot of things that's going on. A lot of recent shootings, a lot of bad things in the neighborhood. But at the end of the day, there's hope. If you got enough hope and belief that it's going to be a better day, we have to work to make it a better day. And that means that we have to become our brother's keeper. Look out for each other. Look out for yourself, look out for each other, and look out for your family and your community. It's during this time period when we talk about war, and we are in a battle, believe it or not, we have to come together and look at reasonable things that can help us. We have to bring it close to home. You might have to team up with somebody else in order to make things ends meet or things happen for you, your family, and your community. And you know what we say over here? The secret to walking on water, or the solution to everything, is right up here in your mind. We can come up with witty ideas and creation, even with all the hell that's going on, whether it's a pandemic, or whatever. We can come up with solutions to these problems and situations. So the secret to walking on water is just knowing where the rocks are. So with that being said, we'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. This is Reginal Drummer, the Peopleologist. We love you like God loves the world. God must really love this little blue dot called Earth. But take care. Have a blessed and prosperous day. And we'll see you at the top or from the top. And guess what? The view is just so clear from up here. Have a great day. Stay ready so you won't have